So, welcome to the interview portion of our chat with Kayleigh Dobbs. Kayleigh, you do a lot of interviewing, and what advice would you give to people that are about to be interviewed, considering we're about to interview you?
Oh, I think just be relaxed, and that's easier said than done. But I think if you get really nervous, the thing to remember is if you've been asked on for an interview, it's because the person that's interviewing you is interested in your work or your life. So you don't need to worry too much about, taking the reins or worry that what you're going to say isn't going to be interesting because you're answering questions that people want to know the answers to. So I guess just try and relax and remember you don't have to take the wheel too much.
I think that's an interesting one because saying just relax is similar to saying just calm down to someone, isn't it? Where as soon as you've said it, that is the only thing they cannot possibly do.
Yeah, it is easier said than done. I think I struggle with. I get nervous that the things I'm going to say are going to be boring or irrelevant or something, but I have never felt bored by an answer that someone I've interviewed has given. So I just try to remember that that's your self-doubt just kicking in.
Well, let's go with our first question then, which is, what's the first story you wrote which meant something to you?
Oh God. Oh wow, first story that meant something to me. Yeah. Going to make me weird.
Yeah, I guess. Go on. We love weird.
When I was in year 6, so how old are you in year 6? 10 or 11?
9, 10, something like that. Yeah.
Somewhere around there. We had a short story assignment, and I was reading those point horror books, Goosebumps and stuff at that age.
Oh no.
And I wrote a story about. I don't know why I thought of this. Maybe I read it somewhere else and I emulated it or something. I wrote a story about an infertile babysitter that was locking other people's kids in her attic.
Oh my God.
That's so dark.
The reason that meant something to me, it wasn't the story because I was just trying to tell a scary story, I guess, but my teacher was so impressed he tried to get me an agent.
Wow. That's cool. At 10 years.
He and I'm not saying I don't mean to imply like I'm an amazing writer or anything, but I think it was a little bit above what he expected for my age. So a lady did come in and talk to me, and then I think it was just decided like this idea is a bit adult and the writing is quite child. Was the verdict. So obviously I didn't get an agent from it, but it was somebody's belief outside of like my family home in me that meant a lot to me and motivated me going forwards.
So now that you are an adult and write like an adult, have you thought about revisiting that story and writing about a babysitter that's infertile and stealing people's children for their attic/loft?
I don't tend to enjoy as a reader like real world horror stuff like that because it's too dark for me. I prefer supernatural stuff, although I say that, but some of the stuff I write is horrible. But I haven't written anything. I try to stick with perspectives that I've had experience of, and I haven't personally ever kidnapped a child or had those kinds of issues. So I've tried to stay in my lane a little bit more.
Well, times change, Times change.
Yeah.
Are you really dedicated to your craft if you're not stealing children? Come
on. Well,
I
mean, I guess you could go real method with it, couldn't you? But for the sake of not being arrested, I've stuck to zombies and stuff instead.
Become the De Niro of horror writing.
Yeah.
Listen, officer, I need to write from a serial killer's perspective. I don't get what you're not getting about this.
Yeah, calm down, everyone. It's research.
So, for people to go and start reading your lived experience book plus zombies, where would you say people should start?
I think probably with my most recent collection called The End from Blackstruck Books. It's part of their Shadows series, so it's a little themed collection of apocalyptic horror stories. I did have another short story collection out, but it was with Sinister Horror Company, and they've closed their doors, so it's currently out of print. But I do have plans to re-release that this year.
Ooh.
So what happens when that occurs? Do the rights just immediately dissolve back to you, and then you can do what you want with it, or is it?
Yeah.
Is there some? Yeah. What's the situ there?
Well, so the rights so everything published by Sinister Horror Company, the rights were just returned. Everybody got their last royalty payment and everything, and then it's just mine to do what I want now. But I did think about just re-releasing it, maybe self-published or find another publisher. But I think I want to add to it and do something a bit different with it instead, because it came out in. I'm a little bit slow on book releases. I think it came out in 2016, I want to say. So that's a horrifically long time ago now that I'm thinking about it. Oh, God.
This is not a self-flagellating space, so please don't beat yourself up about that. Yeah, that sounds really interesting. And obviously, you do self-publish some things because you have done your reviews and everything. That's all off your own back, isn't it?
Yeah.
Have you experienced self-publishing novels as well before, or just through publishing houses?
I haven't published any novels yet. I've been working on that pesky first novel for like 5 years. I just want to get it right before, not have my debut be absolute crap when I release it. But I do, for my day job, I freelance doing a bunch of stuff, but my main kind of job, I work for an author who runs a indie press. So I'm really familiar with the backstage type stuff of that. So the formatting, editing, and getting reviews, all of that kind of stuff. So I would prefer personally to go through a press so that I don't have to do all of that stuff.
The working in that backstage area, has that made it more exciting or more daunting, or how has it affected your desire to push into that from the other side?
Oh, it's really been very educational, actually, because I really didn't know how any of this stuff worked before I started working for this person, and it was quite eye-opening about realistically the kind of money that you need to spend on, like when you get a cover artist, and if you're going to pay an editor and all of that stuff, and the sheer amount of work it is if you're doing it all by yourself. And there's some disheartening things, because I was a bit, when I got my first short stories published in anthologies, 12 or so years ago now, I was like, oh, this is it. This is my big break, because I didn't know about indie publishing. I didn't realize that there are hundreds of indie presses, and that there's only 6 major mainstream ones and things like that. So I came back down to earth pretty fast. But I just feel more motivated to write and be part of the indie community. I think that's my favorite thing about writing, is getting to meet everyone at conventions and then try and promote other people's work, because I know how hard it is I know how hard self-promoting to get reviews for your books and stuff. So that's another big reason that I started the website, is because I really wanted to do anything I could to put the word out about the books that I like.
It's noble. It's very noble. I'm going to cede the floor to Nico here, because he likes this question a lot. So see how you get on with it.
So, Kayleigh, if hypothetically there were 2 writer podcasters and they were being held hostage,
oh God,
by a powerful and capricious bibliomancer, right? And that bibliomancer was hell-bent on getting the best books that he could for his magical library, what novel would you recommend to that wizard to buy them some time?
Oh,
hypothetically.
Novel. All the Fiends of Hell by Adam Neville.
That was a swift answer. I
That was
like
really
how quick that was.
That might be the fastest answer. Could you say it again for us?
All the Fiends of Hell by Adam Neville.
Okay, I'm unfamiliar. I'm woefully underread in horror. Is this a horror book?
Yeah.
Excellent. Tell me more. Tell me more.
It's his most recent novel, and I personally think it's his best work so far. It's about an apocalyptic event, and unlike a lot of apocalyptic fiction where there's like a glimmer of hope, it is very firmly established quite early on that humanity is fucked. So it's really scary, and the creatures are like, you think that he's already gone scary enough, but he keeps up in the ante with it. And I think I answered that really fast because it was joint first for my favourite book of the year last year. I had 3 first places because I couldn't decide, but that one to me was the scariest, and I was talking about it with someone today, so it was like fresh in my brain as well.
Fantastic. So I know that Happy Goat Horror runs its own awards as well. So did this win your award? Is that what you
Well,
meant by it was tied first?
funnily enough, so shameless self-promotion. I did get to interview Adam Neville, which is on my YouTube channel. I have an interviews playlist, and you can find it in there, along with others like Ramsey Campbell and Rachel Harrison and etc. So just thought I'd just throw that out there for anyone interested. Sorry, what did you ask me? So sorry, Ben.
I was asking if it won your award.
Oh,
because I know that Happy Goat Horror gives out awards.
So
did it win?
yeah, so joint first place for the joint first place for favorite novels. But my overall favorite read of the year was a short story by Sarah Langan called "I Miss You Too Much," and it was in an anthology called Elemental Forces, and that was my overall favorite read of the entire year. And I'm slow on this year, but I am going to be sending prizes to like I'm trying to get little goatee trophies made at the moment, like proper awards, which I'll be sending to Sarah, Adam, and then Tim Leben and Rachel Harrison with the other 2 I picked.
Little goatee. Now, is this a trophy? Is it an upright goat like a BAFTA, like an Oscar? Or are we doing just a goat face like a BAFTA, or like a trophy with a goat? You know, like when you get a golf trophy.
Yeah.
Is it that with a goat on top? Is that what we're thinking?
Wait.
Golf trophy, but Baphomet. Is that the vibe?
Yeah.
Yeah. So the sort of icon for the website and everything is like a Baphomet style goat. I was thinking about just getting a random sort of like goat you see on a farm though.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'm infringing on some sort of like design copyright if I
don't think Satan registers for IP. I think he's
as long as
free of that.
I think that is exactly what Satan would do. That involves lawyers.
yeah. I think
Sounds more like a god thing to me.
I think Satan's very reasonable. I know that the Satanic Temple sued the Chilling Adventures of Sabrina because they used the exact Baphomet statue from the Satanic Temple in the show without getting permission first.
Okay, well, if they're litigious, then maybe you should be a big.
Yeah, but this, if you just have the little goatee guy without the kids, because the whole statue has like 2 kneeling kids as well. But if you just do it without the kids, I think it's fine. So
Probably better as well, really.
yeah,
Just all things considered, really.
yeah, just be on the safe side.
So back to your own writing.
Yeah.
Back to your own
Just for
writing.
clarity.
When you've put together a first draft of a short story or a longer piece, and I know you said you've been working on a novel for a while now, and I sympathise because I've done the same thing. What is your editing process? So you've got a complete first draft of something. What's the next thing that you do?
Oh, okay. So yeah, I tend to not criticize myself too much as I'm going through a first draft. I tend to write short stories in 1 or 2 sittings, usually 1. And then I sit and read it, and the only thing I do in that first read is fix any typos or anything like that. And then I leave it for a few days, and then I read it again to edit the actual story, see if there's anything wrong with it that I didn't realize the first time around. And then I'll ask a couple of people to read it to give me feedback, and then change things if I think they need to be changed. But I try and do a fairly quick turnaround on that process with a short.
It's very self-controlled to be able to just do a pass for spelling and grammar the first time. I think I would struggle with that.
I just get too wrapped up
and-
if I have to do it like one task at a time, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Okay.
So you said you haven't leapt out into the ocean of novel from the sort of lakes of short story and novella. But do you think you would try and do it the same way? Do you think like one pass at a chapter and then that one run through again, or would you try and do the whole big kahuna and then run through it?
No, I think with I have written a novella. It hasn't been released. I'm deciding what to do with it at the moment. I think that was about 30,000 words, and then so I learned from that I kind of have to do that in sections, as in like do spelling, grammar, story, editing all in one go, but take it chapter by chapter or section by section, because otherwise I'll forget what I'm doing.
That makes a lot of sense.
So before you edit them, you have to tell the stories. Who inspired you to start telling your own story?
Oh God. Do you know, I really don't know. I loved reading as a kid. That was my favorite. I was really introverted, and I did prefer to just be in my room reading books. The first story I remember writing, do you remember when you're a kid you get those books, like flap books? It'll be like, "Where's the dog?" and then you can like lift up a bin lid or something.
Yeah.
I used to make those when I was a kid, and they were always about my cats.
Gosh, you had a fast start. I think like you were like, okay, I've mastered this medium. Let's start making flat books. I love that.
I don't know what, I can't really remember what got me into reading. My mum's a reader, so maybe I just saw her reading and I wanted to read. But I just really don't remember. I guess I'd have to ask my mum if she remembers. Because I've always loved reading and writing for as long as I can remember being able to do those things. And then the first sort of rash of stories I wrote, I didn't realize until my adult years I was writing fan fiction. So I'd watch films and then write my own story of it. So I had Deep Blue School. It was based on about my school getting flooded and infested with sharks. And I also write, this was my favorite, I was proud of this as a kid. I wrote The Dude with the Iron Stuck to His Face.
And
I think Duma would actually challenge you to a duel on that one. I think that would. That is necessary.
All I can remember about that is that obviously I'd watched The Man in the Iron Mask, and I just
absolutely garbage film, by the way. If you've gone back to rewatch it as an adult, it's an like I loved that film as a kid, but it's absolutely garbage if you go back and watch it.
I did it last year. It is never. It's not good.
If I ever find the story that I wrote, I'll send it to you. Maybe it would be preferable. It was just about a guy with an evil twin that he's locked in the attic or something. And then he's got an iron stuck to his face. I don't remember how that happened. Like, got welded on there. And then the only thing I remember writing was the end scene where they have a fight, and the one brother swings the other one around by the iron and lets him go, and he flies off into the moonlight with the iron twinkling.
So, this yeeted brother, is he also secretly the king of France? Is that also?
I don't think I put that in there. No.
Okay. No. Right.
Did you clarify if it was Leo DiCaprio as well? That I do need to know.
I think it must have been. Yeah, I guess I was in my Leo DiCaprio phase when I wrote that. Yeah.
Oh, get yeeted! Wow, that's something. That is something.
I'd like to think
it sounds like you've been just a powerhouse of creativity from when you were a very small child. Which is really nice to hear. That's like you've been creating your own stories, because it doesn't matter if it's fan fiction at that age. It's where everybody gets their start. It's like trying to ape stuff and try and learn from. I was about to say the masters, but The Man in the Iron Mask is definitely not a masterpiece. So It's
I love how you're just giving Deep Blue Sea a complete clear pass here, by the way, Ben.
I've not seen it. I've not seen
Oh,
it.
what?
Oh my.
I know.
Right, we're pausing
I know.
this podcast now. We're going to.
Yeah.
Right, everyone listening, imagine that there's a cut here with 90 minutes in it where Ben sees the second best movie about sharks.
I watched it recently, and I still love it. It is silly, obviously, but I think it
Yeah.
just holds up. It's such a fun shark film.
The my Deep Blue Sea fact is that when I got my DVD player originally, and I've probably even said this on the pod, it came with 2 DVDs. It came with Deep Blue Sea and a double pack DVD that had Rush Hour 1 and 2 in it.
Oh my god!
Now, I still talk about Rush Hour 1 and 2 all the time. I do not often bring up Deep Blue Sea.
Oh, it was a real shame, all the Brett Ratner stuff, because it sounded like he's not a nice guy. But those Rush Hour movies are fucking brilliant. They're bulletproof.
Oh yeah, they're funny.
A lot of my early film watching was, my dad was really into buying dodgy knockoff DVDs from dudes who would come into his shop.
Oh yeah.
So I ended up watching a lot of movies, but they were all bad quality. You know what I mean? Like, so it was like people getting up in front of the camera at crucial moments and things like that. But yeah, so I also had a Rush Hour 1 and 2 thing, but it was they were both pirated copies. I think I missed like a whole section of the first one, but yeah. Anyway, that's by the by. I know that my dad listens to the podcast, so he'll enjoy the fact that I've outed him as a pirate. When that aside, Kayleigh, what place do you think that religion has in storytelling?
Oh well, I think that it's in a lot of stories without people realizing that they're reading religious subtext, and also I think people write it without realizing that's what they're doing, because religion even if you're not a religious person, it has still sort of like permeated every society. So we've got, laws and sort of like social opinions that are still sort of been passed down from like the Bible, for example.
Yeah.
I'm not a religious person at all. Like, I'm an atheist. I don't believe in God or the devil or any gods at all. But I do really enjoy religious horror specifically for some reason. Anything to do with any sort of deity worshipping cult. Those are my favourites for some reason.
Well, yeah, go on. What tickles you about them? Do you think? Is it like this the fear that people could believe in something that much?
Yeah, I think it's I think it's because what's frightening about a cult isn't even whether or not the thing is real. It's the way that people are behaving under the belief that it's real, and I think it can turn reasonable people nuts. Religion, like if you get too indoctrinated and you lose your critical thinking skills and whatever, and your morals start shifting. But that said, anytime I'm reading a book about a cult and it's sort of ambiguous about whether or not the thing is real, if it turns out that it was Satan all along, I'm so happy to read it. I'm like, I gleefully get to that, and I'm like, oh my god, he's here.
The Satan
My
side
boy.
He's here. You need that on a T-shirt with Happy Goat Horror on the back. That's brilliant. So you can absolutely say no to this, but do you have a favourite anecdote about a real-world cult? I feel like you're the kind of person that might know a lot of facts about cults.
A real-world cult? Oh.
Yeah.
I have
like Scientology or something.
No, I have a personal experience. I haven't been in a cult myself, I hasten to add.
Okay.
This might offend people, though. I'm going to tell you this anyway. I cannot.
I'll do a quick content warning. Buckle up.
I cannot stress enough. This was about an evangelical church that was in my town that I don't think runs as an evangelical church anymore, and I can't stress enough that I really don't think that this was normal for a church. So I'm not sort of chucking everyone from every Christian denomination under this umbrella at all. I can't stress that enough. But this place was odd, and somebody that was close to me in my life who had never believed in God before, made friends with somebody that was part of this church, and this person said, "Oh, just come to the church with me. I'd love to introduce you to my friends. And, just come to one of like the evening, whatever, like a social event they were doing." And then the next time I saw this person, they were praise Jesus, hallelujah, like fanatical about Jesus from going there once.
Shit.
So I was very concerned about that, because I was like, well,
Yeah.
if you've found Jesus and that makes you happy, that's great. I've got no judgment about that. But it was just the rate, the speed, with the complete turnaround of belief and opinion and everything. And I was like, that's a bit. And then this person just kept badgering me to go to this church, just to go to a social event and meet their friends, their other friends from the church. And I went, and it was scary there, because as soon as I walked in, I got crowded by, must have been like 10 or 12 adults. "Oh my gosh, another young person, so happy to have someone else here. You have to come to this, you must come to this." And they were all so nice and so friendly, but it was very intense that they were trying to get me to join this church. And I noped out of that really fast. Like, I felt I didn't want to be rude and leave before the thing I'd gone there for. So I stayed, but it just didn't feel right at all. It was, they were pouncing on anyone that was really young, and then sort of, I don't know, I just felt a bit manipulative, as opposed to...
Are you saying there's something wrong with preying on young people who haven't fully formed their minds yet? Would you say that is a fact and something that no one should do?
Like,
Yeah.
Oh,
it's
gross.
It's very odd. Because again, I'm not a churchgoer. I don't believe in God, but I've been to churches for things through my life. Like, I've been to see Christmas concerts and things like that. And, I've never felt like someone was going to lock the doors on me and baptize me against my will, as like it was in this place. So I can't speak for all evangelical churches, because I've never been in another one. I hope they don't all run like that, and I'm sure they don't. But this church didn't last very long anyway, to be honest, because the pastor got into some trouble, I think, and disappeared. So I say disappeared. I think he just moved, but
Yeah, moved to the next town over to rinse and repeat.
Just for my happiness and well-being, how's the friend who found Jesus?
Oh, stopped believing as quickly as they did at the drop of a hat when the person took one of their friends there. This friend happened to be gay. The response was not nice, and it snapped them out of it, because they were like, "I thought everyone was welcome. I thought Jesus loved everybody." And then they just saw their friend get attacked by homophobes. So, yeah,
that's really unpleasant. We also do know somebody that quite a similar thing happened to them in a way, where they started dating somebody, and the church didn't like who they were dating, because they weren't, not only were they not Christian, but they were actually Wiccan.
Mm-hmm. God.
and so the church was trying to pressure this person into breaking up with this other person.
Yeah.
At which point, the shared acquaintance of Nico and I decided that the church wasn't for them. So
just normal church behavior, bro. What do you mean, bro?
It makes me so fucking angry, man. Don't even get me fucking started on this stuff.
Historically, the Christian church hasn't been great with anyone they think is a witch, so
Yeah, true. But they have this whole thing about like helping people, but actually that's just because that they prey on the weak. Okay, that's the end of my rant. I mean, I can't do any more, because
Ben, you can do it. You just simply have to change how you define people.
Oh God!
Oh my God!
Good Lord!
Whereas the Dark Lord accepts us all, guys. You get yourself a little Baphomet, right?
Kids and all.
Yeah.
This message was sponsored by Growing Up Catholic and Learning the Hard Way.
Oh,
so I'm going to ask another question, because we're fucking trapped here. I think I know the answer, but I'm using this like a life ring, like a parachute.
Go on.
What themes do you find appealing when reading fiction, Kayleigh?
What things do I find appealing?
Oh, themes.
Oh,
It can be things.
Appealing, right? I like stories about strong friendships.
Ooh.
And
Good answer.
I guess for theme, I think this is quite common in horror. I think this is why a lot of people like it. I like stories about people overcoming really difficult situations that, you know, because no matter what the situation is, it could be, you know, really supernatural or whatever, like something that doesn't exist. But those stories at their core are still about people finding inner strength and overcoming obstacles. And I think we all go through that in real life. So I find those kinds of stories really inspiring and uplifting.
So you don't like Stephen King's It at all, then?
I love Stephen King's It.
I know.
I could tell
I
as
could
you
tell.
asked. It's my I love it so much. It's one of my favorites. It's my favorite Stephen King story. I love that. I love that friend group.
So, what do you think is the hallmarks of a like a successfully told story focused on friendship? Like a good one rather than a bad one.
Sorry?
Like a good one rather than a bad one.
Oh,
Like what's a
I think
like? How would you?
like when the friendship is tested in some way, and you know people come out good with it. You know, like I'm trying to think of an example. I guess well, it's a good example of that because they all have to work together, stay together, and I did very much feel like all of those kids would like die for each other in that book. And I think it's hard to hold on to friendships that are that strong the older you get because life takes people off in different directions and different priorities and things. So I think that if your friendship is tested and you're still going strong at the end, I think that's good.
Nice. Do you feel particularly connected to a culture in your in your life, and if so, has it shaped your writing at all?
Yeah. Is a metalhead's a culture?
Definitely.
Yes.
Yeah.
Definitely.
I guess well the alternative crowd in general. Which I think ironically metalheads in particular get this kind of reputation for people who don't listen to metal as being scary people when actually I find that they're the nicest people in the world. I've never been bullied by a goth, for example, you know, as opposed to someone who's more, for, you know, lack of a better word, more normal, more mainstream then. I'm quite introverted, so I think I just identify with people who are uncomfortable in social situations. So I don't know if that's a culture, but I definitely feel I kind of know where I fit. Writing conventions, actually, I think a lot of people are introverted. A lot of writers are introverted people. So when I go to those conventions, that was the first time that I really felt like, oh, I found my gang.
Oh,
That's really sweet.
Yeah, that is really nice. And you know, has metalhead culture or goth culture or even like writing conference culture bled into your actual work at all?
Yeah. So I don't write about. I don't know if I've written about metalheads in particular but in my head, my characters always are. Like my protagonists that they like metal, it just doesn't come into the story. But I think the types of people that I associate with those groups are the kinds of people I always write in as my protagonists and my heroes. So I do have just this really sort of like loving affinity towards both cultures. Like the people that you meet at like horror conventions, for example, again, they're going there all excited about meeting people who've played serial killers and things like the most horrible films, and then all of those people are sat around the friendliest people, all excited. There's I get really wholesome vibes from the kind of people that mainstream society has deemed weird. So
Yeah.
weirdos.
I think that's the
the
I
culture.
think it's true, especially with subcultures. You tend to find a lot of people who were outsiders
Mhm.
then found each other and became insiders. So it is a lot more accepting.
Mhm.
Obviously, there's always gatekeepers. You will find them every community. Shout out to that one dickhead guy at every metal show. Name 3 songs. Haha.
Oh
But
yeah.
the do you think that the that's kind of the metal subculture is diminishing or growing? Because there are two very definite schools of thought on, is it getting bigger or is it getting smaller?
Oh, I don't know, because I feel old a lot because a lot of the bands that I still love are the bands that I discovered when I was 15. And I've never
Yeah.
stopped loving them. And when I first started going to metal festivals, like Download and stuff, that was in like the height of like new metal. So
Yeah,
I used to really love all of that. But as I've got older, I've got more into like like progressive metal, like bands that a lot of people haven't heard of. And
yeah.
so I don't actually know as a whole where metal culture is anymore, because I've kind of veered into a really tiny niche of it. So I don't know. I don't know.
Well, if you want to really feel old, do you know Hybrid Theory by Linkin
Yeah.
Park? That's 25 years old this year.
No.
25 years
Oh
old.
my
Yeah,
god.
Oh
came out in
yes.
2000.
Do you know what? My benchmark for feeling really elderly is realizing that Final Fantasy X came out 25 years ago. That one still feels like
Well,
it was yesterday's Final Fantasy to me, but no.
I mean,
What's
as we
yeah, go on.
record, not to date it for people, but the first Pokemon game was released 29 years ago today.
Oh, I'm wounded.
Cool.
Emotional damage.
Have you got 'cause it sounds like you might be a bit of a gamer too. Do you have a like a golden example of really good storytelling in a video game?
Oh, Final Fantasy VII, the original one, not the remake, and I don't want to talk about
Yeah.
the remake because you haven't got time for the rant about that. But
No, but I am here for it.
I think that Final Fantasy VII, that was one of the first stories that I can remember just being obsessed with, and also Silent Hill 2. Much darker, but the storytelling in Silent Hill 2 is incredible, and I think that games are, if you want to feel scared and you're someone who enjoys horror fiction, I think that gaming is actually the best way to experience a horror story, because you're actively participating in it rather than just reading or watching it.
Mhm.
So it's scarier.
Yeah.
Gosh, I couldn't agree more. I have a younger cousin, and I was showing her how to game and stuff, and I showed her Skyrim, and she loved it. You know, she was going around like crafting things, doing little tasks and all the rest of it. But she absolutely freaked out when she encountered like the first time she had to go into like a cave,
Oh yeah.
and obviously she was a child at the time. But it was just like seeing that such visceral reaction. I'd never seen her so scared before in her life.
Yeah.
And she actually couldn't do it. Like, she froze up. She had a real response to it. I think I agree. I think there's something about having to control a perspective through it, like navigate. Even as because obviously that's not very scary, is it? Like Skyrim fighting some trolls or something. It's not very scary. But yeah, it does put you in the driver's seat, doesn't it?
I think it's, in a movie you can close your eyes and
Yeah.
wait for 30 seconds and it'll be gone, but you can't do that in a game, can you? You got to do it.
Because the stuff is happening to you, and I have learned a valuable lesson about myself for real life from horror games. Because I'm not a good gamer. I'm good at like Mario World, like going back to the SNES. So I felt like I was a good gamer when I was younger, but I never managed to actually keep up as games developed. So the way they are now, I suck, but I still love them. But I'm currently playing the Silent Hill 2 remake, and I die so much because I've learned that my fight or flight response when something jumps out at me is just scream and mash buttons until I die. And in real life, if something happens in real life, I feel like it's going to be a similar reaction.
But in this instance, would mash buttons be like savagely attack your attacker?
I think I just slap.
Swing blindly.
Yeah, just swing blindly. But since I realised that about myself when I'm playing games, I cut people some slack in horror films when they make stupid decisions now, because I'm like, yeah, when you're on the spot, your brain doesn't work properly.
That's fair. That's fair. There have been some mentally stupid decisions. The one that really gets me is when people are running away from something that's going in a straight line.
Oh, they don't go left.
They don't just turn left or turn right. Like, that bothers me every time I see it.
Oh, Prometheus. That bit in Prometheus, I'm so
I know,
angry.
I know, that's the one that people often held up. I recently rewatched that, and my understanding from the much wider shots, if I'm going to try and rescue this movie at all, is that everything is falling away. So it's not just that they are trying to run away from that like one, Indiana Jones style rolling boulder. It's they're actually trying to flee like the whole compound sinking down. But I get it. Like the first time I watched that, I was like, "What the fuck is this? These are supposed to be like spacefaring scientists."
If you want a really egregious example, and I'm going to throw this in before we move on, we must. But if anyone remembers the movie Elektra, which I'm sorry if you also remember the movie Elektra, there's a guy who's like bulletproof and knife proof, and there's a bit where he kicks a tree, and then Elektra like runs over it and does a flip. And he doesn't move, and then the tree falls down and kills him. But Elektra hasn't done anything to change the trajectory of the tree. So he was going to get squashed by it regardless.
Oh.
And that's so stupid.
It's like that scene that...
I'm so mad about it.
Yeah.
That scene from the first Austin Powers film. Can you remember when they're on that big roller thing? There's a guy like 50 feet away, just like, no, like, just move.
Yeah.
Oh, all right. We could get stuck on people getting squashed all night, I think. So I am going to ask Kayleigh, what is your next project?
Oh, well, I am. Oh, I'm trying to pick what to tell you because I've got goat projects, as I call them, and then writing stuff. So I want to get my novella and my short story collection re-released this year, but I am quite focused on my novel. My novel. I sound like such a dick. I'm quite focused on my art.
No, you don't. You're completely at home on this podcast. We all sound like dicks.
Yeah, I want to finish my novel and then leave it for a while before I go back to looking at it. But that's something I really want to get that out next year. I think at latest now. And then for my Happy Goat horror stuff, I am working on some educational videos to add to my YouTube channel for, like reading comprehension and stuff, because apparently a lot of kids are failing GCSE English and stuff these days. And I did try to volunteer in my old school and a few other neighbouring schools to do some like free creative writing stuff with the kids, and when they all said no thanks, which I found baffling. So I thought I'll do it on my YouTube channel instead, and I'll help. Like I want to make videos about creative writing, reading, and exam prep and stuff. So that's what I want to add. So yeah, quite a bit of stuff.
I think that's a noble cause and a good creative pursuit. That sounds great to me.
Cool.
No, I'm just
I actually have
just trying to condition them all to like read really well and then buy all my books. That's what I'm doing.
Did they turn you down because of the whole Baphomet thing? Did they turn you down because of the satanic imagery?
I really don't know why, because I said, I have this idea. At the time I had a publisher on board, so the idea was do creative writing workshops, and I would work in grammar, spelling, like all of the stuff that they teach in English, but work it in with some context. And then I was going to have this book published, get the kids to all write stories, and then have it published, and I was working with the press on it. And I've worked in children's entertainment, and I've worked as a home tutor, like a private tutor for English tutoring. And so they were like, oh no, thanks, we've got enough extracurricular programs. And I was maybe, yeah, I don't know. This was before, I know it wasn't before my maybe it was the Baphomet stuff. Maybe they Googled me.
Googled you. And they were like, oh, no, this is a bona fide Satanist.
She's going to come in and indoctrinate our kids.
Oh well, they've got it.
Oh,
Yeah,
so much better.
that would just leave them somewhere in the middle, wouldn't it? Because they're already being indoctrinated. I actually have one more question before we wrap up, which is, have you got a horror film recommendation for me? Because I have watched almost no horror films.
Oh, oh God. Oh, my mind is.
What's your favorite? What would you say?
Oh, my favorite of all time is it's Alien or Aliens.
Okay, I have seen those, so we're gonna need another one.
Okay. Oh shit. What kind of stuff do you like, Ben?
Well, that's the thing, because I'm trying to broaden my horizons with horror. You see, so like the reason I've seen Alien and Aliens is because I like sci-fi. So I'd already encountered them. So anything that's like anything that you think would be interesting that's kind of pure horror.
Oh. Have you seen? This is a mark of my age. Have you seen The Thing?
Oh, I have not. No,
Okay.
that's an embarrassing thing to admit on mic, but I'm aware of it, but I have
Yeah,
not.
John Carpenter's The Thing. That would be the next one I'd recommend then.
Fantastic. I feel like I'm going to be walking away from this, and Nico's going to force me to watch. What was it, Deep Blue Sea or something? And then and then we can watch The Thing. Is that right?
Oh, sorry, Ben. Are you planning our weekend right now?
Yeah. No,
Oh,
I'm locking you down.
also slightly lighter on the horror, but Tremors. You can't go wrong with Tremors. Feel really strongly about Tremors.
I feel strongly about Tremors.
I think it's a perfect
Amazing.
film. So...
That needs unpacking.
No, just take my word for it.
I'm completely willing to. So where should people go to keep up to date with your news then? Where should we direct people that have enjoyed listening to your take on storytelling and horror and everything that we've discussed?
Happygoathorror.com, because if I have new writing projects of my own, I do post about them there as well, so you can keep up to date with
Cool.
any of my non-fiction articles, reviews, and all of that on the website, and then also any news about my projects and my YouTube channel as well, where I put everything basically. So those are probably the best places to go. And I got an email address on the website for anybody that wants to get in touch for book reviews or for anything else. But yeah, that's where people can generally find me.
Wonderful. Well, thank you, Kayleigh. Thank you for your time. Thank you for chatting with us and for telling stories with us and having a general laugh. It's been absolutely delightful.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm really flattered to be included on this podcast, so it's been a great time.
Lovely.
You've been fab.
Oh, thanks.
Thanks for joining us for this episode of The Tiny Bookcase.
Remember to subscribe, otherwise you're going to miss out on the future fun.
Also, tell a friend. If you like this episode, link them to it.
We'd be tremendously grateful. You can follow us on Twitter at BookcaseTiny, Facebook at The Tiny Bookcase, and Instagram at BookcaseTiny for updates. Speaking of supporting the podcast, well, magic can only take one so far. The Tiny Bookcase is supported by the generosity of its patrons. Those kind souls have really kept my belly full the last year. Let's cast a spell for them, shall we? For rich ginger tones on their scalp, let us cast the Orangi Hedondo spell for Scott Byrne. And for general fabulousness, why not the Ooh La La How's Your Mother spell on Matthew McLaren?
How do you come up with that shit, man?